if you're a good athlete, you should never interact with the crowd. You should never do this or like
the pump up.
You should never point to the crowd, look at the crowd, or anything. Completely ignore the crowd. If you're
what are your thoughts on the Lambeau leap then?
I think it's stupid. Okay, the Lambeau leap is the only thing that kind of has an exception because it's such a tradition. It's like so tied to the NFL that it's like the only thing that's different.
Grandfathered.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it's grandfathered in celebration wise.
Okay, so but any of this type of stuff or like throwing your arms up like this, terrible.
The maximum you can do is like hand the ball to a kid in the stands. That's good. Or throw the ball in the stands. Anything else, that's enough.
Well, I'm trying to remember back. How was Michael Jordan when he played? Did he interact or like have any sort of
only with the other players?
No.
Because if you allow the fans to get into your mental space, then that is a bad reflection on you as an athlete.
Yeah, but I would say he may still have the same shine only because he would have been like, call it the first dude to do it, right? If you're the first to do it, you make it cool, right? Okay. In a certain respect. So like maybe he could have gotten away with it, but the best part is that he didn't do it and he had that psychopath tunnel vision for every opponent. And that was way cooler than doing money signs to the fans.
Yeah.
Another cool thing from Jordan. Hey, that'll be good. Another cool thing about Michael Jordan is like he's before the social media era. It's there's almost like there is a distance between the fans and him. It adds to the mystique. It adds to the legend. Just like now our athletes, LeBron is tweeting all night about video games and every single aspect of his life. It's just like it eliminates the aura around our athletes and makes them less mystified in our eyes.
Yeah, there's too much insight into the lives of, call it, celebrity and sports fans, and that's why people hate them now. It's because they know too much. They're no longer a mystery. They're actually buffoons, and they're showing themselves to be such. That's why people are just like, okay, I'm overseeing them.
You got to stay behind the curtain. Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Do you think then like that all of this stuff is kind of playing into what's happening with the NFL right now? Because there is so much hate and a lot of elevated emotions around the NFL, specifically around the Chiefs. And like, we'll talk about that in the game against the Bills and everything. And of course, a lot of drama with the officials, but the NFL seems like it might have a little bit of a problem on its hands right here because so many people now are essentially questioning the legitimacy of the sports and the league with all of these calls that are so controversial. Do you think that the NFL actually is running into a legitimate problem, or is this just super loud fans that hate the Chiefs?
Look, we all know that the NFL is exploding in growth, and that's overseas, that's gameplay, that's organization growth, that's game growth. Roger Goodell just said 18 games is in the near future. It's inevitable, all that kind of stuff. So they're in a moment of trying to manage that growth and do it as best they can. And then on top of that, they're getting this narrative that the gameplay is being affected by actual officiating because of, as the factors we've mentioned before, gambling, the softening of the game, quote unquote, for purists and traditionalists as they see it. So they have a multitude of factors that are just coming to a head right now during the playoffs. And then you have the outside factor of, say, Hollywood, as I was talking about, the veneer of Hollywood entering into the fray with Taylor Swift. So it's like all eyes are on the NFL right now, and they're just like trying to dodge bullets left and right because there's an onslaught.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're seeing so many loud voices. Even dude like Adam Schefter, who's one of the biggest voices in the NFL, who's got like 12 million followers on Twitter. He was tweeting about this officiating problem. He got a lot of backlash from other people within the NFL because he's a pretty legitimate voice. It's like, it's one thing when there's these dudes in their mom's basement tweeting about, oh, the NFL's rigged, but it's another, or guys like, with their podcasts.
I'm in the attic. It's different.
It's different.
It's cooler.
Okay. A lot more prestigious out there.
I never know what she's doing back there.
Mike, that's your best joke on the podcast so far. But it's different than when a legitimate journalist is bringing this into play. Here's another thing. If you're just listening here, we've got this map. We've been showing every week, like in the playoffs, who America is rooting for on certain games. And for those just listening, this is a map of the United States of America that says who America is rooting for in the Super Bowl. The entire map is grayed out except for Kansas City, who's rooting for the Chiefs, and Philadelphia, who is rooting for the Eagles. Want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Why do you think? I mean, I know we've touched on it with the things around the Chiefs that make people perhaps dislike them if they're not Chiefs fans. But the Eagles are also seem to be almost equally as hated. And so just what we said, does the NFL have a problem right now? Well, also you're seeing people talk about how this Super Bowl is not one that they want to see. It's two kind of hated teams with the Chiefs and the Eagles. Why do you think the Eagles are in this conversation as well as a not very liked team?
Oh, dude, they've been hated for decades. So, like, the hate isn't anything new for the Eagles, and it's only been amplified by, call it the on-field and off-field antics or gregariousness of their coach in Sirianni and what he's brought to the table. Like, he's embraced the culture of the Johns and the Philly fans in a way that I don't think anybody else, like even Andy Reid, oddly enough, joining up again or facing off against his old team, did in the past. So, like, I think the hate for them, it's been deep seated for a long time. It's just amplified with, again, like the antics and everything like that. So I don't see it as vastly different from the Kansas City Chiefs outside of the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs have never been hated outside of the in division rivals. And I think what's happening here is just the fans are just seeing this and it feels like too squeaky clean, too much of a engineered sort of storyline, and that's why they're pointing to it. It's just like everybody's antenna pops up and their tinfoil hats pop on.
Okay, but with the tinfoil hat stuff, let's be clear here. We on this podcast do not think that there is a conspiracy theory. We are willing to acknowledge that there are calls and human error that are occurring within football, okay? And that there's certain calls that maybe could go one way or another, and it does seem like that certain amount, especially here in the playoffs, are going in the favor of the Chiefs. Dude, let's then, with that being said, let's get into it and just take a look at some of these super controversial calls or no calls or plays that happened in the Bills-Chiefs games yesterday. So let's start off with the Xavier Worthy catch or not catch. All right, hold on. Let me throw this up here.
Dude.
So ball comes in. Bill's defender seems to get two arms around it. Worthy has got one hand on it, and the ball comes down, and it does clearly hit the ground, okay? And then this was reviewed and deemed to be a catch for the Chiefs for Worthy.
I see it more as a situation where it's the tie goes to the runner, right, in baseball. So this is kind of a situation in that same vein. But it's frustrating because at least the tie goes to the runner, at least in that, the foot actually touches the base, right? And it's definitive that the foot touches the base. And then, yes, there's a tie. Honestly, at a point in like this, I think it should be a wash. I think it should be a reset of downs or incomplete pass. Like I don't think it should benefit the offense because there are so many other elements of the game in this new era of football that already benefit the offense and are a huge disadvantage to the defense, that I think this could be one of those situations that could actually be a huge plus for the defense and actually might help gameplay moving forward.
That's actually a really interesting idea right there. You know, because a lot of things are now pointed towards the benefit of the offense in football. A bunch of people are chirping up loudly about the fact that this ball hit the ground, okay?
Yeah.
But for those who don't know or don't understand the rules, the football can hit the ground, okay? But you have to maintain possession of it. The ball can't jiggle or move around and just be dislodged or displaced. And that actually did not happen here. I know that this is a super gray area, and especially with the defender having kind of two arms on it. But just like we said last week, dude, as the rules are currently stated, this is the correct call. Now, if they should change the rules, that's a different conversation. But they went and they reviewed this, and this was confirmed to be a catch because of those reasons, that the tie goes to the offense and that the ball can hit the ground if it does not become dislodged. So I think that's like kind of a broader or different conversation to be had, or what changes the NFL could make. But it's not like the officials made an egregious call here, so ridiculous in favor of the Chiefs, you know?
Yeah, they're working within the confines of the rules as they are set currently. It's just, I think people are pointing, because this is just another feather in the cap of people pointing to refs making probably other calls that may have been ill-advised or probably questionable at that. This one, vastly different. It's part of the gameplay that I think needs to get defined. And there's also an element to the definition that you were explaining there that should be added is like the ball can't be, or excuse me, the ground cannot be an element of the catch. It can't help this receiver secure the ball, if that makes sense. So the ball has to be secured and then it can touch the ground. But in this situation, yeah, I think the NFL just needs to do a better job at finding the proper definition, or we just go to the point of it's like, if it touches the ground, not a catch.
Yeah, something like that makes it very black and white. Like, okay, ball touched the ground, not a catch. Even if you had kind of possession and it doesn't move or wiggle at all, not a catch. But yeah, I think that the smart and intelligent conversation surrounding these things, or especially this one right here, is we need to take a hard look at kind of like what the NFL rules are and do changes need to be made in the offseason. Just like we talked about last week, dude, where, okay, maybe they're going to expand the scope of plays or types of plays that the replay officials can step in on and help the on-field officials with. So I think that's a serious conversation to be had. But that's kind of what the controversy around that one, that catch was. And then a couple plays later, it led to a touchdown. I think it was the one where Mahomes ran it in. Another very controversial what's up?
Well, on top of that, I don't know if you're about to bring this up, but when Mahomes ran it in, the penalty that came from that, I believe, was made toward Kelce.
Do I have that? Hold on. I think I actually have that right here, because Mahomes ran it in, and then hold on. Sorry, guys. Give me a moment.
I think in that situation, there's no reason a penalty should have been called on the defense for reacting to Travis, because in the same vein, they always call people for taunting, right? And how is the Travis Kelce version right there not taunting? Sure. And he's essentially asking for a reaction like that. So I don't think he should be benefited in any sort of way for that sort of celebration, which is easily in the same definition, a taunting, call it penalty. Right. So I don't think they should get a call for him actually instigating it.
You're not wrong, but what have we always heard from 7th grade on is that the second guy is the one who gets penalized always in those interactions. It's always the second guy. So that's kind of like, it's not fair. It's not fair, but that is the reality of how things go down with those exchanges, you know?
Sure. But generally in that old adage is the fact that the first action was not seen. The second one, the reaction was. Sure. Everybody and their grandmother saw the initial reaction, including the refs. So that's what's frustrating, and that's what gets people so irritated. And of course, you could say like, oh, maybe the refs didn't see it and they only saw the reaction to it. But at the same time, the millions upon millions of people who were watching the game did. So that's why it's so loud. It's just like, dude, blatantly obvious that this was instigated by Travis, and they shouldn't be rewarded for that.
There is. You could make that argument. Like, okay, I've been a referee. It's sometimes you have kind of tunnel vision on certain things, and maybe even when your head is turned, like we have seen some really, really egregious examples of fouls that happen right in front of referees' faces. I'm thinking a few months back with maybe it was with Burrow or one of these quarterbacks who just got like a terrible face mask right in front of the ref. And then and everyone saw it, and you look at the ref, and the ref is pointed right at that direction. And the referee later says, I didn't even see it. So that can happen. Not trying to make an excuse on this situation here. Like that is another one that kind of piles on there.
And that goes in line with what we're saying, though, is the NFL, while they won't make in-season corrections, they need to make it a postseason correction here, because they need to have some of these things reviewable by the eyes in the sky. They can't have these penalties stand if there aren't penalties that occur, or even penalties that do occur. There should be certain situations where they should be reviewable and should be called, because this I'm going to use the term again, this piecemealing of review process, I think, is a problem. And yes, it's to avoid the slowdown of the game. But at a certain point, when certain calls are missed or are made, and they should be either pulled off the field or delivered, that actually hurts the game more so than I think a complete stoppage. The people in the booth are already reviewing every single play. So why can they not radio down and be like, hey, you got to pick that up. You can't be calling that.
You think they'll be able to, in a few years,
Right.
be able to have an AI that's trained based off of all the film from like the history of the NFL that's all, in their inventory. They could probably
Yeah.
train a model that can be like a third impartial party that can, call in they factor in call in the field, they factor in AI call, and then they factor in whatever the booth says, It could be a
Potentially.
factorable
Yeah.
feature.
I actually think that there is something there, and I don't know how long it would take you to be able to, but I mean, there's so much footage and data and information that you could input, and to have that, and then people, hey, it is neutral. Like if it makes the call,
Yeah,
or what have you, you
then
can't- you
people will
can't
make
argue.
the argument that it's actually not neutral because it's all dependent upon the prompt and who created the prompt for that AI system. Like the AI system isn't generating
Yeah.
the call or the prompt itself. It's being delivered that, and then it's doing the task of finding those instances. So it's like,
You just say,
are you going to
what's the
trump
call?
Sam Altman's referee?
but there is an element.
Okay, is it
This
Sam
is
Altman?
where it gets so hairy, is because there is an element of subjectivity that is needed in the game of football. Because sometimes it's just like it's part of the game, and if it's black and white in every respect, it also loses an essence. So it's such a difficult situation for the NFL to solve, but they need to start making strides toward it. And those little steps, like I said, every play being reviewable and probably opening up the door to multiple other calls on the field for being retracted, I think would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, but like you're saying, like the subjectivity
Yeah.
is why we are even having these arguments about these refs and these calls, So I don't think like that impartial third party isn't a negative. You're not losing anything with it.
Yeah, I would say the impartial third party of the eyes in the sky of a person or multiple people who are looking at it should be the first step, as opposed to just granting it to our digital overlords.
The machine knows.
Nothing wrong with digital overlords, okay? Every time I use ChatGPT, I say, please, I'm really polite. I say, thank you, for when they inevitably gain sentience and take over our lives. They're going to be like, Nick Alfieri was like really polite when using us before we had power. So I suggest everyone
Have you
do
seen
that
Wall-E?
before when our digital overlords take over. Yeah, Wall-E. Great movie. All right, speaking of one call that actually did go to Eye in the Sky and they held it, was the Josh Allen 4th and 1 tush push that didn't work. And I'm going to throw this up right here.
One?
Shout out to LASIK. Well, the one on 4th down that turned into a turnover on downs. This one, okay? Shout out to LASIK, first of all, for really good social media branding right here, capitalizing on the pop culture conversation. For those just listening, I've thrown up a tweet with the picture of Josh Allen engulfed in his teammates and the Chiefs fighting for that 1-yard game right there. And LASIK tweets, better vision, better calls. Still literally offering all NFL refs free LASIK. And I think that's like a multi-$1,000 surgery. So it's actually a pretty nice offer right there. So, I mean, all right. So shout out to them. Thoughts on this one? Because this did go to the Eye in the Sky and they upheld it. Now, some people are suggesting, or there's conversation around, okay, why don't we have, it's 2025. Why don't we have like a chip in the football that can prove black or white if the runner or if the football passes and gets a first down? It's like we still use these 2 poles and a chain to measure our spots in football, a game that we say is a game of inches, and we're leaving a lot of room for error on that. Thoughts on this play right here, and also on the way that we measure first downs?
Thoughts on the play first and foremost. I'm just so frustrated that over and over again during this game, Joe Brady continued to call this play and it continued to get stopped. Like the Chiefs defensive line was playing out of their minds in stopping this stuff. And we saw the game before with the Commanders and Philly, and it be the total opposite story. So I wish Joe Brady had a little bit more in his bag to utilize in these situations, as opposed to continuing to have Josh Allen go to his left over the guard and continue to get stopped. But going back to the initial conversation point, look, yeah, the line judge and all that kind of stuff, it's starting to be a problem, especially when you have 2 guys coming in at different sides of the line. Like, you can't have that. And then find like, oh yeah, I think it was like 3 inches that way. Just that's starting to get to be ridiculous when the game is a game of inches and things are so important in terms of down and distance. So I don't think the chip is necessarily the answer because that changed the weight of the ball, the displacement of the weight within the ball, and the equilibrium and everything like that. So
it could be so light, it could be a non-factor. Think about it. Think about like a chip that you put in your pet. You know?
Yeah, I mean it's
tiny.
I think so.
It's minimal
right now
for
we're relying
sure.
on this ref who's in a quarter squat. You don't know what that's happening so fast. Like a good ref just calls something and then sticks to their decision is decisive. They're not necessarily actually seeing what's going on. That's happening so fast.
Yeah. No,
Mike, so there is something there, and I'm not saying like when you are an official, one of the main things that you want to have is confidence in your call. So like you pick something, you're decisive, and you stick with it. Otherwise, the parents are gonna yell at you, and you're gonna feel really sad when you drive home.
Yeah, I think that's what this ref's thinking about. He's thinking about Patrick Mahomes' parents yelling at him after the game.
Have you seen Patrick Mahomes' dad? That guy is probably off the sauce. He's gonna be yelling.
No, look, okay. I agree with you. There needs to be some sort of technology used in these situations from here on. The NFL needs to just invest in it. They have all the money in the world, and it continues to go up. Okay, great point here with the tech in tennis. Like, yeah, you can utilize something along these lines, but it's not apples to apples here in terms of the technology. With football, there needs to be something else. I'd probably say more akin to like the military has pretty good tracking for aerial phenomena and things going on up in the sky. Why don't we have the same sort of tracking from the sky cam or some technology that's able to lock in on the ball wherever it is on the field at all times and be able to have down and distance and reading from there? Like I said, big investment, but the NFL has the money, and if they want to put a tourniquet on the bleeding that is this problem, they need to invest in it.
What a great analogy. Tourniquet on the bleeding.
I think
that's cool. Would it be one chip in the middle of the ball or two chips at both ends?
But what if one chip falls off?
I would go 2 at the end. Or maybe 1 in the middle. You can go actually 3. Scott, you're worried about the weight?
I'm not concerned about the weight. I'm just saying I know punters will have their like thoughts, kickers will have their thoughts on the weight, and then quarterbacks.
On
how much is a hierarchy?
Scott, gram? It's like a nanogram, okay? You could put 1,000 on your body and not even feel it. You ever heard of Neuralink? Those guys have no idea that's in their brain.
That's what we need Elon on this.
All right.
Maybe that's what every official needs in their brain so that they can get the boop, 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 boop from the overlords. And it's like,
there you go.
That call.
Get a little cross investment there. Neuralink times NFL collaboration there. I mean, these are the big problems that the United States is facing. Okay, that's a joke, but the NFL, hear me out, is such a pillar of American culture. Okay. I know it's just sport, but it is a huge pillar of American culture, and it's very, very important to a lot of people. And it is important that it maintains its legitimacy. Okay. Because like we said, there's a lot of bubbling up these conspiracy people saying, I'm out off the NFL. I don't want to watch anymore. It's become like WWE. It's just some sort of entertainment. It's not really sports. It's just like, all right, bro. Well, chill out with the conspiracies, but
sorry to cut you off there. But I was going to say, this is also something that was like frustrating me when we were having the weather conversation, right? Because that's what I don't want it to become, especially on the surface when we start putting it in domes and start engineering certain things so that the gameplay is a specific way or that it's as pristine as it possibly can. It's like that loses the element of like humanity that is so cool about this. And obviously us talking about implementing technology is in the same vein of potentially making that go away. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, there's a difference between like fan comfort and all of that kind of stuff in the stands for weather related issues. And then there's a difference between like the gameplay being like decimated by poor call as opposed to that benefits one team over another versus weather that is a detriment to both teams at the same time. Yeah,
right. It's equal. It's a level playing. But that's what they say. Like in a bad weather, like it's a great bad equalizer. Weather is a level playing. It's the great equalizer. It's like if you're playing a team that's really crispy on offense, you're hoping it's going to be shitty weather and rainy because then that just brings you all down to the same level. And that is kind of a beautiful thing about football. And I know that, some people go back and forth on do we want this pristine, perfect product? And that's also a big conversation surrounding why we always have the Super Bowl in the warm weather spots or in a dome so that it is pristine in the final game. But there is something really special to be said about these playoff games that are played in the snow. Like looking back to like that Rams Eagles game, and it was just snowing down, pouring so much, the whole field was white. It's like, that's playoff football, that, and we don't want to get in a world where we try and make everything so sterile and perfect, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't snowing and it wasn't a blizzard yesterday, but both games were played outside in the very cold weather. And
Right.
and they both ended up to be great games. I mean, the Eagles game a little less so, but the latter game was awesome. It's like, dude, that's part of football. That's why everybody fell in love with it from the beginning. It wasn't because like Xavier Worthy ran a 4.19 in the 40 and like he's super fast. That's an element of it, but it's like everybody loved the entire dance that is like man against man in the elements.
Right. Absolutely. And that's like that we don't want to make decisions that will entirely get rid of that. So let's talk a little bit then, dude, about the actual game. Okay, it's AFC Championship. This is now, you know what's crazy is Josh Allen, I think, is 4-1 against Mahomes in the regular season, and now 0-4 against him in the postseason. And we've been talking for a long time here about kind of like those calls, those controversial calls that could have gone either way. And, you know, throw those out, dude. The Bills had opportunities, man. They had many opportunities. They missed both of their 2-point tries. And the ball was actually bouncing their way the whole game, dude. I think they had four fumbles that all came back to them. Or like there was 4 fumbles in the game, and they recovered all of them. And then you couple that or throw that in with like the Kincaid drop at the end, dude, that would have gotten them right like near. So the Bills had opportunities, and they did let it slip through. What are your biggest takeaways from actually the on-field stuff of the game and Mahomes versus Allen?
Yeah, the on-field stuff, it goes back to my frustration with Joe Brady's play calling in certain situations, and like leaving 4 points on the field in those 2-point conversions both times ultimately ended up being their demise. You got to have something in the bag that's not a tush push, and a poor quality tush push at that. Obviously, you get stopped 1 or 2 times doing that. Think of something else, man. Like, you got to try something else. It's so frustrating to see that happen. And you're right. Everything was bouncing the Bills' way. And honestly, even after Kincaid's drop, which we need to talk about, like, would you think that's a worse or same level sort of bad that the Andrews drop was the week prior? Yeah, dude, because like both of those are so catchable. So catchable.
Dude, yeah. Those are just devastating. Well, dude, what you said right there, I'm with you on the frustration with Joe Brady and the play calling. And it's like they did the tush push 5 times. It didn't work 4 of the times. And however, in the regular season, as I'm throwing up this tweet right here for those just listening, Josh Allen was 20 for 21 this year entering this game on QB sneaks, doing the tush push. 20 for 21. That's all insane. But 1. Okay, that's insane. And then was just 2 for 5 in the AFC Championship game on those 3rd and 4th down tush push. So I get it that you say, okay, there's a frustration. Why do you keep going back to this? But it did work for them all season. And it's like, we talked about it in previous episodes on, I think when we were talking about Notre Dame and Ohio State, it's like, do you totally switch things up, or do you stick with and trust with what got you here? And that did get him there. It was just like, dude, Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense and that D-line just dialed it up and knew what to do.
Yeah. It's a matter of, it's a great question, but at the same time, you have to be able to adapt to the environment and the situation that you're in. And I don't think the Bills offense was doing that. It's like, dude, at a certain point, it's going to regress to the mean. And that's what was happening is you can't get it every single time. And yeah, you can find ways to fake it because it is part of your arsenal, your offensive arsenal, but find ways to make it look like that's going to occur. And also there were, even on the call, I think Romo was saying that Josh Allen has a super high tendency to go to his left in these plays. So clearly Spags and the defense did their homework and they practiced the hell out of this play defensively, because I actually have never seen a defense convert or at least dominate in that situation as often and as frequently as the Chiefs did last night. That was something unheard of. Carter, Jones, absolute animal. Yeah. Carter is also an animal on the Eagles, but like insane what they were doing on the defensive side of the ball, and the Bills just needed to figure it out.
when you look at the Eagles in the tush push, that thing is damn near unstoppable. And some of the Chiefs with Josh Allen going against Josh Allen, who's 6'5", 250, they were able to stop it. Dude, Spagnuolo is incredible, dude.
Hall of Famer, dude.
Just, oh my gosh, that combo, Andy Reid and Spagnuolo. It's like you look at the last play here that the Bills had on the Kincaid throw, and I'm going to throw it up here right now. Actually, if you'll throw it up. This doesn't show what I want to talk about here just yet. That's the drop right there for those just listening. But Spags dialed up a corner blitz. Right, he knew that Josh Allen loves to roll out to his right there. A corner blitz, dude. What percentage of DCs are going to call that corner blitz on the biggest play of the game, the season on the line right there? And that just flushed him out. That ruined the play and forced him to just chuck it up. Granted, Josh Allen, with all the talent, still, even with all that pressure right in his face, still got the ball right here in Kincaid's arm. And
he did what was needed to do. Josh Allen, this is why he's in the MVP conversation, because even in a play that was as broken offensively as it was, he made the right read. Like, if he put that closer to the sideline, that would have been even more beautiful. But he gave his guy a chance to catch the ball, and he was the only guy who could have caught the ball in that situation. He was throwing it off his back foot. That's why Josh Allen is MVP in my mind of this season. And to Spags' point, dude, that stunt coming off the edge, talk about cojones, dude. Cojones.
Corner blitz? Game on the line? I mean, it's just it's incredible.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. That's one thing also, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent right here, but this is one thing that I always get upset about to my European friends or who don't understand the complexities of football. They think football is just a dumb man sport, crashing into each other, dumb brutes. This is chess. Okay, this is a chess match of very intelligent people with strategies, finding pattern recognition, and deciding how to move and make these decisions here in crunch time. It's beautiful combination of physicality and mentality. That's why football's so great.
Yeah. Hilarious that you bring that up too, because I actually just had an uncle over Christmas break. He's an Austrian, grew up outside of Vienna his entire life. He was essentially bashing on football, and he's like, I don't understand how these people can play this sport and bang their head and get CTE. They're so stupid, just brutes. And then my father-in-law was just like, Scott played, and his dad played in the NFL. And then he went down the list of my family and how many people are involved in football, and he's like, no way. I never would have expected you to be a football player, which unfortunately I get often.
Yes. See?
Do you think that's an insult or a compliment when people say that to you?
I was just taking it in stride because, Europeans have their ways of saying things. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
They're very staunch in their opinions.
Blunt and direct right there. How do you have an Austrian?
I got bullied severely during my time in Germany.
Yeah. You did, Mike.
Particularly for wearing shorts around. If you wear shorts out in public, people think you're a lunatic. Even
the longer I live in Europe, the more I realize that we have entirely different mentalities than Europeans. It is so different. See the world way differently. You think, Western culture, you think it's pretty similar, and it is in a lot of respects, but there is a different mentality that is very prominent in the United States and does not really exist here in Europe. Also, how do you have an Austrian uncle or uncle-in-law? What is your family tree?
eBay. I told you, my wife, she's a dual citizen. She's a French citizen and an American citizen. So her grandmother grew up in Metz. So Alsace-Lorraine sort of region. So during the war, all that kind of stuff, met an American who happened to be my wife's grandfather, so on and so forth. So the family tree and roots in the French and German area are actually quite deep for us.
Oh, okay. All right. I like that. There we go. Shout out
Nick, to your point about football players. This is why being a football player is so respectable, because you have to have both the intellect and essentially you're playing chess and then also have to act as the piece. So you actually literally have to make your body physically the piece and perform the whole strategy as well. It's so different from any other sport. Yeah. You kind of playing one or the other.
Equivalency would be the really big chess that they play in Harry Potter 1 at the end when they act on the board, and that, he goes knight to e4, That, okay? That's
yes,
the
that is
closest thing.
exactly what I was going to say.
Football. Thank you. All right. So Bills, Chiefs. I mean, we'll probably talk more about this game like throughout the week, and then also leading up to the Super Bowl and a little bit more dissection. But, dude, the New York Giants, to add insult to injury, okay, to add insult to injury after trading away Saquon, he goes on to have a historic season. The Empire State Building lights up its building with Eagles colors. Okay, dude. Manhattan, you got the Giants and the Jets right there, and they are giving a little shout out to the Eagles. How do you think the Giants are feeling right now, and Mara is feeling right now after seeing all this?
Who is the New York Traitor? Who would ever do this? You know, everybody in that city is just absolutely livid, regardless of you being a Giants or a Jets fan. Like, this is just sabotage.
Benedict Arnold in there running the Empire State Building lights. I mean, I respect it. It is. I was surprised. I'll tell you that. I was surprised.
Who's Benedict Arnold?
Mike, your history lesson, Mike. Come on, you didn't pay attention.
I'll look it up.
Oh no, Michael.
He sold out.
He was the traitor.
Redcoats. Okay. You never heard somebody like there's two things that people call someone when they're kind of a traitor.
This guy, I recognize him.
Or Benedict Arnold. Yeah, he had you got a Germans from like 1750. Let's talk then a little bit about the Eagles-Commanders game. This game was less exciting, of course, than the Bills and the Chiefs game. And not so unexpected. Obviously, the Eagles were, I think, like 7-point favorites. Saquon went off crazy and just had himself a day with 3 touchdowns. Commanders came off and I can't remember how many plays their first drive was, but they marched down there and they went for it on 4th down like 3 times and converted and had a great drive, and then went down there and ended up kicking the field goal. And then the Eagles score and just immediately with Saquon on an incredible run. Dude, it's just a contrast of these two teams right there. What are your takeaways from this game, Commanders-Eagles?
Eerily similar to the Ohio State-Notre Dame game, especially the way it started, except Notre Dame at least came away with the tud. So, I'll give them that. But, yeah, dude, the fact that they gave up 7 rushing touchdowns in a conference championship game is just abysmal. You cannot do that and have a shot at winning, and especially with a rookie QB, regardless of how well Daniels has been playing this year. It's just impossible to overcome something like that. Putting up 55 on your defense, bro. You got to get back to the drawing board. And I'm actually quite surprised with Dan Quinn having been at the helm that their defense was exposed as badly as that. But at the end of the day, dude, Saquon is an animal, absolute beast. And then on top of that, you have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL for the Eagles. So,
on that first touchdown, once he got to the second level, Saquon made guys miss and was incredible. But the first level there, first 7-8 yards, just no one. The left side of the Eagles offensive line just it was like varsity versus JV. Dude. It was crazy. And he gets in there and then goes for a 60. We were talking about the tush pushes and the Chiefs being able to stop it. The Frankie Louvu on the Commanders was trying his very best to stop the tush push. So for those just listening, there's a clip of him jumping over false or encroachment, offsides, whatever it was, hitting Jalen Hurts. And then the officials came out and said, here, let me play this. I'm not sure if the audio is on this. No, it's not. But the officials came out and said, if this behavior continues, we do have the ability to award a touchdown for the Eagles, this was not doing the NFL official conversation any favors right here. But this, because the Eagles are so good at the tush push, people have been asking, and there is a conversation around, should the tush push be banned?
I award you no points. This guy, he was watching too many Troy Polamalu highlights before the game, and then just got really excited.
Look, I mean, talk about a guy to emulate, though. Troy Polamalu had that. That was down to a science for him. Unbelievable what he did. True. But look, tush push, no, should not be eliminated from the game. Is it annoying? Hell yeah. Super annoying to see that on the field. But at the same time, you got to make the argument, defense, don't get in a short down and distance. Like, do your job prior to getting into that situation and make sure that they don't get into a short down situation to where they do bull rush you in this push. So like, I like it because one, it looks very similar to a scrum. So you know me, rugby. So hey, look, I love leverage. I love all that kind of stuff. It's awesome for the offensive lineman to show dominance and to defeat defenses like this. So I don't think it should be eliminated from the game. I think that's ridiculous to eliminate a singular play from the game of football. And then secondarily, I don't think the defense should be as like reprimanded for trying to do this as much as possible. Because one, they're always reactionary. Like there's no world in which that ever should have been mentioned or that should ever have been an option on the table. Like they have everything going against them. They're just trying to time up the snap. They're going on hard count. It's just part of the game. Like don't make that announcement whatsoever.
Dude, I was trying to find it here. I couldn't find it, but for you guys watching, just go look it up. It was like shocking to hear that. It felt like the official was just like pissed off and out of character and just like, you keep doing this, we're gonna give him a touchdown.
Yeah,
like it was just very, very.
You give a guy a whistle.
The power that you feel with a whistle around your neck, I'll tell you, it's intoxicating.
Yeah, it's like the guys weren't doing it to stop the game. They were doing it so that they could have as much of an advantage as they possibly could to stop a play. And it's not like it wasn't like a purposeful thing that they were doing and jumping off sides. Like obviously they don't want to do that. They don't want to get a penalty and move the ball closer to the goal line. Right. That's not their goal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a little bit silly here, but then the Eagles just ended up running away with it, dude. But hats off to the Commanders, man. They had an incredible season. Jayden Daniels is legit. Dan Quinn and him, this combo, they're in Washington with Cliff Kingsbury. Like, I hope Cliff Kingsbury sticks around there for a few years, plays out his contract, because they could do something special here. And this is a team that has a lot of potential. Like I don't even think people expected them to like make the playoffs this year. And they go into Detroit, smack the Lions, who were Super Bowl favorites for a good portion of this season at home, then come out here and make it to the NFC Championship game. So props to them. And then now we've got an Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. Just we were touching on at the start of the episode that apparently everybody hates this Super Bowl. Nobody wants to watch it. And Mikey, I believe you had some questions regarding other Super Bowls or something you wanted to bring up, don't you?
I did. Let me check my notes here.
Right?
Mikey and notes.
Okay. So in regards to all this talk about this nobody cared about the Super Bowl matchup, my question to you guys is, what would be your least interesting Super Bowl matchup of all time? One game that you would care to miss.
Okay.
Or
wouldn't care.
I know. People.
That's actually a pet peeve of mine when people say I could care less.
Oh yeah.
No, incorrect.
You couldn't care less. It's literally the opposite. All right, we'll do it. We'll talk about that later. Which Super Bowl do I not want to watch? If I was trying to fit in with everybody in America right now, apparently I'd say Chiefs and Eagles. But I'm excited for the Super Bowl. These are two great teams. It's gonna be awesome. Scott, do you have an answer yet?
Oh, okay. Dish it off to me. I would say, I would say, dude, my least interesting game and matchup is definitely one that already occurred back in the early 2000s. And it was one of the first Super Bowls I remember, like becoming a football fan, all that kind of stuff. The Ravens versus the Giants. Couldn't care less about a matchup like that. Trent Dilfer, like Michael Strahan back in the day. I was just like, dude, snooze fest, bro. Like, I can't stand it when there's two East Coast teams, especially that close to one another, duking it out. It's just like that's so disinteresting for the rest of the country. And yeah, it's football. I love football and I'll watch it, but does that mean I'll like it? No.
I'm gonna watch it, but I'm gonna hate it. I don't like it when there are two teams that are geographically close to each other. Also, I felt a little funky about this NFC Championship game being two teams from the NFC East, like being the Eagles and the Commanders. Don't really love that. I like when the United States gets a little bit more representation geographically, so that kind of each region has a dog in the fight, kind of. My most boring Super Bowl would be the Tennessee Titans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
When did the Jaguars go to a Super Bowl?
Hey, Mark Brunell had them humming back in the day.
You mean real Super Bowl or like my theoretical Super Bowl that I wouldn't want to watch?
Theoretical.
Oh, this is just your fantasy.
This is my fantasy. Also, that Super Bowl wouldn't work because they're both in the AFC South. But that could be an AFC Championship game. All right. Well, you know what? We'll pull the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's just, to me, the least interesting franchise in the AFC. Coming out of the NFC, you know what? Maybe like the Saints. Just
really?
Yeah, I know your dad played for the Saints, and I'm slapping your dad right now for this. But just also both of those teams coming from kind of the southeast of the United States. I don't really. It's got a similar sort of feel. So that's my nightmare Super Bowl. All right.
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, no, it would be a nightmare.
Don't ask me. I don't know. I don't know divisions. I don't know who's eligible to play. I will agree with the Jaguars. Jaguars at the Super Bowl. I'm not even turning that on. It's gonna be half filled.
This is one of the ways the United States gets back at Europe is that we send the Jaguars over to the UK every year to play. It's like, yeah, you can have NFL, but you get Jaguars NFL every year. Congrats. All right, so those are terrible Super Bowls, way worse than this Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. Like, people who are complaining about this, shut up.
That's a good segment. It makes us appreciate what we have.
Yeah,
that's true. That's good.
And
Mike,
I think,
it's like that. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was going to say, Mike, at least this Super Bowl matchup will probably be something you'd be excited about because it's in a dome. It's two high-flying offenses, and that's just let's see mano-a-mano in a vacuum.
That's good television is what it is. Okay? That's what I like about the NFL.
And that's the reason why the NFL has the Super Bowls in the locales that it does, is because it's about the fan experience and the comfort of the fan. That's what they want.
Well,
you can't forget, the NFL is a TV show, okay? And that's what it boils down to. Watch good TV. I want a high-flying offense, perfect conditions. I want to see people making big plays.
You're supporting those conspiracy theorists.
When you degrade, the NFL down to just a TV show, then you are falling in line with these referee conspiracy theorists who think that the show is rigged, okay?
I love conspiracy theories. Yeah, I think they're great for society. I love it. There should be a batch of people that are psychotic criticizing things. Okay, they should be allowed to say their tinfoil hat.
That's true.
Takes.
That's true. We need that. We do need that. I support that. I just don't think that the NFL is actually a conspiracy. I believe plenty of other conspiracies. We can go on a conspiracy corner down on another episode. I got plenty of ammo for you.
Oh, birds.
I think, okay, but I totally forgot to bring this up when you brought birds.
Birds aren't real. They're
birds are one.
Go ahead, Scott. Get us back on track, Scott. What were you saying?
No, I guess this is a slight tangent, but I was going to go back to what you were talking about, like, a journalist talking about the conspiracy of the refs in Adam Schefter. I mean, the thing with him is he's an insider and he's saying something, and that's not even like journalists. We've known them over the past few years to really deviate from what it means to be an actual journalist. So like, he's an insider. He's making these claims. That's only adding fuel again to the fire that is this conversation. So like, I think that's a big problem. He's probably going to lose his insider access real quick.
Yeah, dude. I would wonder like how that's going to affect his status there. If people are going to be wanting to give him inside info like that after him shining a light here and kind of discrediting the NFL.
Hand in your badge. Credential off.
Hand in your lanyard.
Give him the lanyard. That's all the power as a journalist is your lanyard.
You lose that lanyard and that credential, you're done.
Yeah, you're nothing.
You're nothing. Mike, that was a good question. I also have a question here, and I really want to get you guys' thoughts on this because this has been kind of bubbling around in my brain for a while, I would say. Now, I am throwing up here a tweet from this guy who I don't know who he is, but this is an interesting thought. For those just listening, it is a video of it's the video of Commanders fans and Eagles fans getting together and kind of making fun of Dallas and saying Dallas sucks. Here it is just a little bit. Dallas sucks! Dallas sucks! Dallas sucks! Dallas sucks! Dallas sucks! Okay, a nice moment of unity in the NFC East, hating on poor Jerry's Dallas Cowboys. The tweet, though, says, quote tweet with this video is, I can't really explain it, but NFL diehards like this are so much cringier than their college football counterparts. Now, Let me tell you what I think on this, and I'll get your thoughts. I understand what he's saying right here. Basically, kind of coming at this as, a grown adult man who technically has no association with this NFL football team, this football team that is essentially a corporation. It is a company, and you're going to a game and you're painting your face and spending all your money to buy the jersey of the quarterback and have his name on your back with your face paint there for, of course, it's a team, but it's also just a company, as opposed to, okay, I went to this university for 4 years. I have so many experiences here. I went to football games while I was a student there. And now that I'm 45 years old, I still have this connection to this university. So it makes sense for me to be a diehard fan. Still a little bit cringy if you're 40 years old and you're painting your face and you're wearing the jersey of all the guys going there, but a little bit less than if you are like this for an NFL team. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Fair?
Got to support the team.
Yeah,
In the words of Putty from Seinfeld, got to support the team.
There you go.
It's game
Scott,
day.
take it away.
No, good, Mike. I was going to do the exact same one. You beat me to it. Okay, Nick, what I think, playing devil's advocate here, what I think you're missing here is the fact that there is investment in both of these groups, right? So yeah, you may have an association with that university, but you paid to be there. Like, you actually had to pay to be a part of that group. And that's what these NFL fans are also seeing. They paid for that jersey. They paid for that nosebleed seat, and they've been doing it for decades. So in terms of the investment, they've put their money where their mouth is. They've put their money where their fandom is, and they've sat their ass in that seat for many years. So that's where they feel like they are part of the team and part of that organization.
Okay.
Also, the tailgate community. That adds to it. There's some memories.
Okay, hold on.
Not quite different from the frat community. Let's just put it.
You're right. You're right. However, to be able to go to that university and pay to go and have that association, you did have to apply, and you had to get in and be accepted. Should we then force NFL fans to apply to be official fans of their team and make it less cringy then when they go and paint their face? What do you think of that?
Yes. Well, think about this. Think about the state schools. You act like applying is some like barrier to entry. Oregon State, what is that? 80% acceptance rate? That's not a real gated community that I was a part of, So I do think applying to a professional fandom community, there's something. All
right, there's something there. Imagine that you apply and then you get your official fan card and then you have to pay your dues. All right, which NFL team?
Coffee drinker card.
All right, which team's fandom are you going to apply to?
You asking me?
Yeah, Scott. Where's your application?
I've been grandfathered in.
Okay. Besides the Browns, who would you apply to?
Oh, this is probably going to get some people heated. I was a huge Saints fan only because Saints and Chargers, I guess. One, yes, my dad played for both teams, but at the same time, I was a big Drew Brees fan growing up because he was a 6-foot quarterback. I was 6'1", not very athletic, had to see over taller linemen. So I was like, that's the guy I want to be. So I was a big fan of his. So I would either say the Saints or the Chargers.
Okay, those are good. I bet you'd get in, dude. There's like 45% acceptance rate. Yeah. Right? And you got a really
There's a whole lot of vacancy for the Chargers, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know. You couldn't pass the psychological exam.
No, dude, you're definitely going to get in. Here's a question. Which team would be the most exclusive fan? Which would be the hardest to get in? That's kind of interesting.
Dude, it's got to be one of the hard ones like Bills Mafia. Like, you have to earn your stripes to be like a fan of Bills. Like, where are you from? Oh, yeah. I'm from Miami, Florida. No, you can't come in. Sorry. You don't know what it means to be sitting in these stands in sub 20 degree weather for half the season.
True. I think that's a good one right there. Let's know those
the old Raiders.
Sure, you have to kill somebody to get into that.
You have to be a made man.
Made man, you're an official Raiders fan? That guy is scary.
Yeah.
I think they do that already anyway. Raiders. No. There's good Raiders fans. Yeah, something like that. Maybe like, honestly, the Eagles could be also.
Yeah.
Those Northeast who just like, that's their whole identity. It's like, we're not going to let just anyone in. Cowboys fan, easy. They take everybody. Everyone could pretend to be a Cowboys fan. All right. So there we have it. New idea for the NFL to increase the legitimacy after all this kind of brand hit from the referee drama. You force fans to apply to official fandom, and that's how you solve the brand problem. Okay.
That's how you solve the officiating problem. Yes. Make it harder for fans to be fans.
Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. All right, there we go. We're right at about an hour. So let's talk a little bit more then about on Wednesday about the game coming up, the Super Bowl of the Chiefs and Eagles, and get a little bit more into like the matchups and stuff like that, what we expect from the Super Bowl. What do you think? Should we do that?
Oh yeah. I thought you were asking me what I thought about the matchup.
Oh no. I'm asking you that on Wednesday.
Okay.
All right, that's about that's it then for us today. Mike,
don't you want to know what I think about the matchup? Don't you want my technical analysis of the football game?
For Wednesday, please prepare your analysis. Actually,
your Mikey minute. Yeah, your Mikey minute. We will present it during Wednesday's show.
Cut for time. I feel like Larry David when he was a writer for SNL. He kept getting all his skits cut, and then he quit, and then he showed up on Monday, pretended it never happened.
Start your own show. All right, Mike, because you're not going to be here on Wednesday. Sorry to all the people who are expecting Mike. You're gonna have a couple questions that you're gonna send in for us. Then that we will do some discussions based on your really intelligent and thought-provoking questions, right?
Yeah. They'll stump you. They'll get you to think. So be prepared.
Oh yeah, it would be a good day for your minute then.
Or you're true.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, I'll see what I can do.
We'll see what you can do.
You have homework, Michael.
Maybe you do. All right. There we go. Good stuff, guys. See you on Wednesday. Everybody, thanks for watching. See you next time.